Hi, everyone. It's Brad Weaver again, host of the 2022 Informs annual meeting, and I have the distinct pleasure of sitting down with this year's opening plenary speaker, Cynthia Rudin. Cynthia is a professor of computer science, electrical and computer engineering, statistical science, mathematics and biostatistics, and bioinformatics at Duke University, as well as the director of the Interpretable Machine Learning Lab at Duke. And if that wasn't enough, the winner of the 2022 Squirrel AI Award, the Nobel Prize of Artificial Intelligence. Wow. Well, Cynthia, thank you for joining me for the first of a special series of Inform's What's Your Story, sharing a special behind the scenes of the plenary speakers and getting to know you just a little better as we return to a fully in-person meeting in Indianapolis for Informs. So welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the meeting.
Yeah, definitely. So how long have you been a member of the Informs community?
Well, I think I found out about Informs when I started working in a business school, so right around 2009, and I loved it because unlike the machine learning world and the data mining world, they actually cared about real world problems like I did. And the data mining people at Informs are actually really good. So I've actually attended Informs every year, I think, since I found out about it, so over a decade.
So I have a question for you regarding attending Informs. If this was your very first meeting, what advice did you give to a first-time attendee?
Okay, so can I tell you a story here?
Yeah, of course. It's all about that.
So the very first time I attended Informs, I had an 8 a.m. session where I was supposed to give a talk, and me and my two other people who were supposed to give the talks were, I think it was my other students. And we were all dressed up. We had our talks already. We'd practiced the talks, we'd show up for the session. And there was no one in the audience. It was just us talking to ourselves. And we were all, like I said, we were all like, dressed up and stuff. And I thought to myself, this would never happen to Michael Jordan. Now, I don't know if you know who Michael Jordan is. He's actually a machine learning scientist. He's very famous. Okay, he's very famous. He's like top machine learning guy. And I thought this would never happen to him. And then a few years later, I attended Informs, and the keynote speaker was Michael Jordan. And I thought, oh yeah, this is where Michael Jordan would be. He would be giving the keynote speech. And so I went to his talk, and the first thing he said was, man, the first time I attended Informs, I was at an 8 a.m. session, and the only people in the audience were the other two speakers. I thought, and now I get to be the keynote speaker. I was like, maybe I'll be the keynote speaker in a couple of years. So I think so I think, the first time attending Informs is because you don't know what you're doing. So you just kind of like to, you do something, and eventually you kind of figure it out, which is that the meetings where you actually meet people are like the society and section meetings, right? That's where you actually go ahead and meet people. And then if you go to talks, like if you look through the book and like go to the right talks, you'll actually get a chance to ask the questions to the speakers and meet the speakers afterward, and go and meet other people who are interested in that topic as well. So you have to put in a little bit of effort, but as soon as you do, like, you get a reward for it, because you get like a whole community of people that all of a sudden
That's great. And here you are in the circle of life, and now you're the opening plenary. So that's the journey. I love that story. So there's obviously lots of questions in the minds of our members on, well, one of them is, what exactly is the Squirrel AI Award, and how did it come to be bestowed the Nobel of AI, and how has your life changed since you won it in 2022?
Well, it's a new award because there is no Nobel Prize for AI. There is no Nobel Prize for computer science, right? And the award came from AAAI, which is the Association for the Advancement of AI, and then Squirrel AI, which is a company, an education company, and they wanted to really pull the community toward AI for society, like AI for good, which I think was a big step for them, since there's never previously been any really major award for doing AI for good. Right? No award existed for that. So that kind of work wasn't really recognized in the AI community. And, I think the community as a whole really wants people to be doing that kind of work. So it's really good that they sort of set up this award, because it recognizes the kind of work that we want people to be doing. Now, in terms of how my life has changed, it was a huge change like I remember feeling just a year or two earlier that the field just still didn't even care about the things that I thought were important in AI. Like, I care about being able to understand and troubleshoot AI models and figure out how they could actually be used reliably in high stakes decisions, like in healthcare and energy reliability and criminal justice, right? Those are the fields that I work in. And I really, I didn't see people paying attention to these things. And then this award came along and I thought, oh, wait, people do care about this now. They didn't before, but now they do, and I mean, partly it was like there was the pandemic in the middle of this. And so people had sort of changed and I hadn't quite realized it. And I was thinking, maybe what I said made a difference, right? It basically made me realize that all these years of frustration and kind of struggle to get people to pay attention to these issues were actually worth it, right? So this was actually huge for me personally.
That's great. And thank you for sharing that. And so inquiring minds want to know, what did you do with the $1 million winnings from this?
Okay, so I designated 400 of it to go for taxes. And I really think, and I know it sounds boring, but taxes are really important because they pay for things like our public school teachers and things that we really want to be, to be paid for, right? The reason our society works the way it does is because our taxpayer money is allocated to things that we care about. Okay, so that leaves 600 left. Okay, I put a couple hundred of it into 529 plans, which, as you know, must be spent on education. So that is a big chunk of it. Okay, so that's maybe 450 left or something like that. I donated some of it to Ukraine and to support local things, and I'm in the process of setting up a charitable account to reserve money in the future. And then I spent the rest on hookers and drugs. And I'm just sorry. I'm just kidding about that last one. I have a teenager with a quirky sense of humor who convinced me to say that. But I will tell you some things that I will not be spending this money on are sports cars and like luxury stuff. Right? That's like that stuff is not me. So I will not be spending it on that.
I love your sense of humor, and you know what? And thank you for sharing that. And I love that. I love that about, what, just paying your taxes. I mean, you just made me feel really good about the fact that I just paid my quarterly bill this morning. So thank you for that. So you're the recipient of numerous other awards, including the IAA 3 times named of the top 40 under 40 by Poets and Quants. Which award-winning work would you say that you're most proud of?
Oh, I'm not sure. I've done a lot of projects that I'm proud of. I love the algorithmic work that I'm doing now with Margot Seltzer and our fantastic students like Judy Jung and Jia-Chong Liu on like really sparse interpretable models that people can, they're AI models, but you can look at them and they fit on a PowerPoint slide, right? They're great. So you can really criticize them very easily. So I love that line of work. I'm proud of the work with Ksenia Radova and Becky Passano that I did early in my career on electrical grid reliability. And that completely shaped the way that I think about the whole field. That's the whole reason I got into designing interpretable models, was because I had to communicate with the power grid engineers. I also love the work that I did with Tung Wang and Dan Wagner on crime series detection, which is used by police departments. And I'm really proud of the work that I've done with Brandon Westover and Brooke Houston and other people on like medical scoring systems. And again, these are models that are small enough that they might fit on an index card. And some of the more important algorithmic problems that I've been working on, we've been working on those for over a decade, and we're finally starting to be able to kind of crack them in the lab that I that I run with Margot. And so, yeah, I'm really very proud of that work.
Well, as you should be. It's interesting to listen to you. So how did you come on this path of using AI to make such incredible societal impacts?
Okay, so I'm gonna bring us back to the power grid project that got me started, the one with Becky and Ksenia. So we were working with this very, very difficult data set, right? This is data from Con Edison, and it was accounting data that was compiled over a century. It was trouble tickets that were written written essentially by hand, right? Were typed by dispatchers while they were directing action and stuff. So we just had this very, very messy data set. And no matter what we did with the data, running a more complex machine learning algorithm was not going to help. Like if I had an extra hour on that project, we would use it to clean data. We would use it to kind of like figure out what to do with this giant mess and figure out how to organize it. So what I found was that a lot of problems don't really benefit from these huge, very difficult to work with machine learning algorithms. And in fact, you could do just as well with a very tiny little model. And those models, the small ones, you could actually troubleshoot. So that's why I switched, instead of kind of going in the direction that the machine learning field was going, which was let's make bigger and bigger models and see if we can get them to generalize between training and test sets, right? I was going the other way, which is like, okay, how small can I make my model and still keep it accurate, right? Still keep that performance level. And so that project really kind of impacted the way I think about problems and the way that I kind of see what's valuable. And then I realized, like, hold on, people want these models. Like doctors want to use these models, and right now they're used in intensive care units in hospitals, right? So because they're so tiny that people can decide whether or not they trust the model. Yeah, so that's how I got into doing this.
So you've had an illustrious award-winning career, and you also put so many volunteer hours into Informs and other associations. How do you find the time, and why do you do this, and why is it so important to you?
Well, a number of the committees that I've served on have been an honor to be part of. So yeah, they were service, but they were also like an amazing experience. And since I do applied work, it gave me some invitations that I might never have gotten, for the National Academy Committee on the mathematics needed for the next generation smart grid. And then I also served on the National Academy Committee on Criminal Law and Justice. And I try to do a lot of listening on those committees and try to kind of figure out where the world might be going. And obviously the writing and so on and so forth. I also do a lot of editing for various journals because we have trouble kind of getting good applied data science papers published. And so I've been trying to be an editor to get some of these papers through the system. And at the moment, I'm on the SIG KDD Executive Committee. This is like an ACM committee. And I'm trying to lead an effort there to kind of revamp KDD, which is one of the major data mining conferences. It's actually like the top data mining conference, because the quality of reviewing at that conference is so bad that we just need to figure out how to improve it. And so I actually think that my efforts on these committees and with this editing is actually possibly a really important way to be helpful, because there are a huge number of people doing important data science. They can't publish it. And this includes like applied data science to many, many different fields, and they can't publish it. And that really, it hurts their careers, but it also hurts all of those fields, because if they could publish that, then they would want to do more of it, right? And so if we could get someplace to actually publish all of those applied papers, we can help all the fields and we can help all the people. And so that's kind of my goal in some of that work.
Well, that's great, and we certainly thank you for the hours and the incredible work you do with Informs. So I know you told the fun story at the beginning about attending one of your first annual meetings. If how can you describe the annual meeting to someone who's like arriving in Minneapolis for the first time, and they walk up and they see thousands and thousands and thousands of people? What's it like for them, and what should they expect, and what advice do you have?
Oh yeah, well, I'll go back to my answer before. So it is pretty intimidating. I mean, you're in the crowd of 5,000 people and you might not know anyone. So that's very intimidating. But if you can figure out which society meetings to go to, and if you can figure out which talks to go to, then you all of a sudden have a community. So you just have to sort of like latch on somewhere, and then you're good. So and then at that point, people are very friendly. So it's pretty easy to sort of enjoy yourself at the conference.
Well, I can attest to that. Last year at Anaheim was my first one, and everybody was incredibly friendly. So you're going to make a lot of friends out there. So if you were not able to work or were not in the analytics space, what would your ideal career be?
So I'm one of those people who could kind of do just about anything, because like the whole point of being a data scientist is you could play in everybody's backyard, right? So I get to play in everybody's backyard. I get to do healthcare and criminal justice and all this other kind of stuff. But and energy reliability we already talked about. But what, okay, if I'm not allowed to do any of that, right? So one thing that I absolutely love is room escape games. And I could totally see myself as a designer of room escape games. I love them. I love the fact that a little kid could maybe solve them, even if like a really, really smart grown-up couldn't do it. And also the games, they can be very thematic and very elegant. I used to design games like that in grad school. I've even hosted room escape games in my house, though not for many years though, because I can just go and do the local ones and enjoy those. But I have a subscription to some puzzle games where they send you like part of a mystery each month and then you solve it. Like I love doing those.
Cool. I want to make sure you're on my team the next time because I don't do so well getting out of there. So tell us a bit more about you. Where are you from, and what's your favorite thing about where you live?
So I'm from Buffalo, New York. That's where I grew up. I guess I'm now from North Carolina, but maybe I'll answer. I mean, I can answer both. So I guess my favorite thing about Buffalo is that people don't really get it. Like they just think it's kind of like cold. But well, I mean, it's not as cold now as it was back when I grew up because of global warming, unfortunately. But it was always a pretty nice place to live. It's it's near Niagara Falls. There's lots of apple picking this time of year. There's nice people. There's lots of beautiful Victorian architecture. It's really quaint and pretty where I grew up. It's really a nice place. And North Carolina is wonderful. Obviously we don't have the cold weather. It's kind of nice all year round. And again, it's a place with, it's a really lovely place to live. It's got beautiful old Southern homes and lots of wonderful walking and hiking to do around here. They're both beautiful places.
Well, I have been to both of those places, and thank you for sharing. They are both very, very beautiful. So, next question. What does a typical weekend look like for you? You're very busy. So, what does a typical weekend look like?
Well, to be honest, I do a lot of driving family members around to their various activities. I also do a lot of cooking, mostly making soup and ice cream and hot chocolate because those are the things that I like.
You've been fun to be with during the pandemic then, because that sounds like all good things I would have wanted to have at home.
Yeah, I did a lot of cooking, yeah. And if I get time, I'll play like a board game or go solve a room escape game or do some puzzles or something like that. Yeah, I also confess that I do a lot of work in the weekend usually because I get so much during the week that it does spill over in the weekend.
I bet. So, total random question. What TV series do you wish never ended?
So my favorite TV series are Numbers, White Collar, and Lie to Me. And I've been saving some of the later episodes in those series, like that I specifically didn't watch them so that I could pretend that they haven't ended yet. And to be honest, I haven't had much time to watch TV in a while, so I could probably watch them all from scratch and not remember them anyway. So I guess that's one way to do it. I'm definitely looking forward to the next season of Loki, though. Loki is awesome, and it's the only TV show that I watched all the way through in quite a while. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, Cynthia, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. I've loved talking to you. I love your sense of humor. What an incredible accomplishments you've had in your career. And thank you so much for everything you do for Informs and for our annual meeting community. I can't wait to see you. Thanks again.
Thank you.